Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have Avalon Advanced Materials Inc. It trades on the OTCQB under the symbol AVLNF and on the TSX under the symbol AVL, and is a Canadian mineral development company specializing in sustainably produced materials for clean technology. The company now has 4 advanced stage projects, providing investors with exposure to lithium, tin, and indium, as well as rare earth elements, tantalum, cesium, and zirconium. Please welcome its president and CEO, Don Bubar. Welcome, Don. How you doing today?
Great, thanks. Thanks for that introduction.
Good. Well, we're excited to have you back on our conference, and we are looking forward to hearing your updates. Take it away.
Okay, that's what I'll be doing today, is providing an update on how things have been progressing on our Separation Rapids lithium project, as well as some background information. Apologies for not putting today's date on the cover slide here. And it's basically, I updated a deck from an OTC markets conference I did back in October, but everything else is updated. Your reminder on all the forward-looking statements I'll be making today. And our capital structure. Obviously, because our pricing has been a little depressed, we have suffered some more dilution to raise equity financing. But we've got quite a bit of working capital now, and we're now in the process of actually doing a flow-through financing to finance some additional drilling at the Separation Rapids project. And we're in the process of raising $2 million to fund that work program. And one of the benefits of doing flow-through is you can price it at a premium to the current market. We price it at 17 cents with a half warrant. That's exercisable for a couple of years at 25 cents. So a little bit less dilutive, but the reason you can price it at a premium is the tax benefits that the investors get here in Canada. And I show a picture of our 2021 sustainability report. Maybe many of you saw the news release we put out recently announcing that we just published our 2022 sustainability report. And things continue to look pretty good in terms of our overall performance on sustainability. As Anna mentioned, we have a diversified asset base, giving us exposure to a broad range of non-traditional commodities. But obviously, Separation Rapids is our top priority project right now. But I'll give you a little brief update on Lilypad and East Kempville towards the end of the presentation. And as many of you have heard me speak about before, this is a very different business than the traditional mining industry, producing these non-traditional, non-exchange traded commodities. I like to refer to it as an advanced manufacturing business because it's all about making the product to meet the needs of the end users, a foreign concept to the traditional mining industry. And I think we're making some progress now in terms of the regulations starting to get adapted to recognize these fundamental differences from traditional mining. And federal government has recently announced its critical mineral strategy and is actually advocating for more of the red tape to get cut by the provincial mining acts to accelerate the whole transition to critical mineral supply chains going forward. And some recent developments I've mentioned in the past. You'll see a picture on the side there of the original resource known as the Big Whopper pegmatite after the original bulk sampling program. But things are progressing well in Ontario too. In fact, they just announced that they're initiating an innovation fund for critical mineral supply chain development just yesterday. And the federal government is also supporting creating funding for establishing these supply chains in Canada. So a lot of the messages that were communicated in this report on the critical mineral strategy in Ontario are things that I've been advocating for many years, especially the importance of innovation in this whole space to take advantage of new technologies and minimize the risks in terms of environmental impacts. And we're making pretty good progress on all of that too. So that's an important message to get across to communities here in Canada that just see mining as only ever destroying the environment with no beneficial aspects of it. And one of the sites I've been involved with is the Innovation News Network, innovationnewsnetwork.com, which is based in the UK. And I liked it because they promote innovation on that, and they've been inviting me to submit a lot of articles that talk about critical mineral supply chains and how they can support this new clean economy going forward. So a reminder of where we're located, just north of Kenora, Ontario. With that, pretty good access to infrastructure. We're doing some work now to upgrade our main access road into the site, and partly in preparation for mobilizing a drill to do some more drilling on our Big Whopper pegmatite. But as many of you are aware now, we're planning to acquire an industrial site in Thunder Bay to use to establish the midstream processing capacity for the battery materials. And one of the advantages of this site is it's very close to this community of Reddit, which is on the main line of the Canadian National Railway, which will make it easy to ship concentrates to that facility once we get it established in Thunder Bay. And also, we're in the traditional territory of the Wapsimaang Independent Nations, First Nation group that we first signed an MOU with in 1999. And they're still interested in seeing how they can get involved. And one of the opportunities they have now is there's 2 hydroelectric power dams on the river system here. And there's a new package to incent First Nations to participate in creating a new hydro power line. So we want to encourage them to get involved in that because they can take ownership of it and generate revenues. And that'll allow us to access hydropower and achieve the net zero goals that everybody wants the industry to take on going forward. And a reminder that our resource at Separation Rapids is a very unusual type of pegmatite in that the main lithium mineral in it is this mineral pedalite, but we have other lithium minerals in it, the lithium mica mineral, lepidolite that's shown in this picture down below. And it's got lots of potential in other markets now. Plus, there are multiple byproducts that can be produced here too, including rubidium-bearing potassium feldspars, tantalum, and potentially cesium as well. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do some more drilling on the Big Whopper resource, because there may be a zone highly enriched in cesium somewhere else within it that we just haven't found yet. So that's one of the objectives of the program, to see what else in terms of zones of mineralization may exist there. And as many of you are now aware, pedalite is a very important specialty mineral for high-strength glass ceramic products. And There are lots of them out there. One of the most common now that most people have seen is glass ceramic stovetops. But there's more and more innovation of other forms of high-strength glass products where lithium is the key addition. And petalite is the preferred way to introduce it into the batch formulation because it's a high-purity lithium aluminosilicate mineral. And right now, we have the only large resource of petalite in the world that China doesn't control. So we now have a whole lot of international glass ceramic manufacturers basically begging us to hurry up and get going. We need that product now. So we've got a good opportunity now to serve that market as well as the battery materials market. And that's one of the reasons why we want to do some more drilling on the site, is to get a better sense for the ultimate size potential of the resource. So our main resource, the Big Whopper, is on this mining lease. That was the original deposit. But a few years ago, we added on more claims to the northwest after we realized that this was in the belt that hosts all these lithium pegmatites. And we made a important discovery called Snowbank there a couple of years ago, and hopefully we'll be able to do some drilling on that because it's a pretty interesting occurrence. Very coarse-grained petalite and not as deformed as the main resource at the Big Whopper. And this is our aggregate permit where we are preparing now for installation of a dense media separation plant in order to start providing product samples of the petalite product to the many glass ceramic manufacturers that want a new supply source. So the Snowbank petalite is very interesting because of the very coarse grain petalite, and this crystal is several inches in diameter, and that will make it easier to concentrate it the coarser it is, to serve the needs of the end users that are looking for petalite supply for glass ceramic products. And we've done some sampling on it, and it's giving us some pretty good grades. So it's a very promising target. Once we get the permit secured, we'll use some of the drilling funding that we've just working on securing to test this new discovery as well. But as I've talked about many times, our vision is to take advantage of the infrastructure in Thunder Bay as the place to establish the lithium battery materials refinery, and being the transportation hub in the northwest of Ontario with good access through the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway to international markets makes total sense. And now we're in the process of securing an industrial site on the waterfront there that looks ideal for establishing this facility. It's quite a large property, and we're pretty close to finalizing that agreement now to purchase it. And once the vendor gets a few details worked out there, then we can close the deal probably sometime next month. And once we have that property, we'll start to attract more and more interest from the many end users that are interested in working with us to collaborate on creating the supply chain in Ontario. And as I've mentioned many times before, there are lots of other lithium pegmatites in northwestern Ontario. So we want to make it a regional facility that's not just going to process concentrates from our project, but be a buyer of concentrates produced by others from smaller resources that occur throughout northwestern Ontario. So we've decided we wanted to attract an investing partner to partner with us on building that refinery. It's by far the most expensive part of the whole supply chain, $500 or $600 million in capital required. And we thought we had a partner earlier this year. We announced an MOU with an India-based company called the SAR Group, but we haven't been able to finalize an agreement with them. But in the meantime, we've had a lot of other interests from other battery manufacturers and electric vehicle manufacturers. And as most of you are aware, we signed an MOU with LG Energy Solution, a lithium battery manufacturer that's looking to establish a plant in southern Ontario. And they're pretty interested to work with us on that. So if we get them as an investing partner to basically cover at least half of it, that'll open the door for us to access further funding from government, federal government and provincial government. So it's not going to cost us a whole lot of money to raise ourselves. And some highlights on the economics associated with producing the battery materials. And we did a PEA in 2016 when the price of lithium hydroxide was quite a bit lower than it is today. And so I updated it by using a $20,000 per ton average, long-term average price. And you can see how very profitable this business will be just to produce the battery materials, let alone the pedalite for glass ceramics, where we're probably in a situation where the pricing on that product will be at least 5 or 10 times higher than our cost to produce it. So it's looking like a very profitable business. Plus, we'll be able to produce many byproducts to supplement the income there from the other minerals in the resource. So our next steps are to finalize the process work. We now are in the process of working with another end user to get the bulk sample we collected in 2021 processed to make some of the trial quantities of the pedalite product for the many end users that are expressing interest. And then get the DMS plant set up to allow us to start processing some more material for the end users that have expressed interest in having it processed that way, and get going on lithium battery materials. And we're now looking at working with a major company from Finland called Metso Outotec that has a very innovative new battery materials process technology that has fewer environmental risks associated with it. And now it looks very, very appealing and consistent with our whole principles on sustainability. So, of course, we'll need to finalize our feasibility study cost estimates pretty soon here on both the refinery and the development of the site. But there's good news here on this front, too, in that the United States Department of Defense is actually offering funding to companies like us that are at advanced stage to fund feasibility studies on their projects to create the lithium battery material supply chain. So that door appears to be open for us to access funding from the US DoD to fund that feasibility study work. And then, as I've already mentioned, we're going to do some more deep drilling on the Big Whopper pegmatite there to see how big it is. So when we drill it off in the 90s, 97, 98, we drilled off 10 or 11 million tons. And at that time, that was more than enough to serve this market that existed at that time. So we didn't have any real reason for drilling any more on it. But now, obviously, there's so much more demand now for lithium, it makes sense to just continue to drill it to see how big it is, because we know it's wide open to depth for expansion. So you can stay tuned for news on that. We hope to get the drill turning this month, at least get one hole done, and then continue in the new year. So if we keep getting things going here, we should be in a position to start with sales of pedalite next year and start to produce some trial quantities of the byproducts. And hopefully we'll be able to get the lithium battery materials refinery established in Thunder Bay by 2025 or 26 and get that whole supply chain started here too. And briefly on LilyPad, that's our other LCT pegmatite project located in northern Ontario near a community called Fort Hope, home of the Avalon First Nation. And now that there's all this development potential being talked about for the Ring of Fire, hopefully we can take advantage of the new road infrastructure that the government is promising to establish to get better access to that site and hopefully get it started, because it's a very unusual pegmatite in that one of the main minerals in this resource is the rare cesium mineral pollucite, and it occurs throughout the whole pegmatite, which is very unusual. Usually it occurs in subzones within these LCT pegmatites. So having it all through the whole pegmatite means there's very big size potential here and the ability to recover tantalum as a byproduct. So we're excited about this one too, and have other companies now expressing interest in partnering with us on this that see the potential for cesium and tantalum as well as lithium going forward. And briefly on our East Kempville tin indium project in Nova Scotia. This is the image of the site there, the original open pit and a second pit called the Baby Zone. But there's some 25 million tons of waste here that all represent an opportunity. In fact, there's a low-grade stockpile with almost 6 million tons of tin ore that at the time didn't meet the cutoff grade of the company that developed it. But now that would be high grade, given how high tin prices are right now, and lots of potential byproducts, including lithium from the resource, as well as indium and copper, zinc, and potentially gallium, germanium as well, that often are found with indium. So our aspirations are to reactivate the site to extract value from the waste, but there's still ore in the ground there too if we can clean up the mess and make money from it. And the status of it now is we're still in discussions with the provincial government on a strategy to help us get full access to the site again, because BHP has been blocking our access. They inherited the ownership of the surface rights and still just see closed mine sites as no-go zones. Whereas now more and more Canadians are starting to realize that these are opportunities to extract value from the waste, because there's so many examples of closed mine sites where there was one traditional commodity produced where the ore contained lots of other stuff. And so the wastes are opportunities to extract value in all kinds of other critical minerals from them and remediate the long-term environmental liability while you do it. It's being described now federally as creating the circular economy in the mining industry, and it's a good opportunity. So hopefully we can make East Kempville a good example of how these sites need to be looked at as opportunities, not perpetual liabilities. And lastly, I always like to remind people on just how important tin as a technology metal now. It has a lot of potential in new applications. While its main one now is being used as solders on circuit boards, including smartphones, there's a lot of innovation on other alternatives for it in electric vehicle technology, including anode technologies in the lithium batteries, solar energy systems, 5G communications, and the list goes on and on. Most people don't recognize tin as a technology metal, but it is on the critical minerals list in Canada, and it's now on the list that Nova Scotia has generated too. So that's pretty encouraging that we'll be able to finally find a solution to take ownership of the site, probably with another investing partner, and reactivate it to show how we can extract value from the waste. So lastly, this is our management team, and we're in the process of growing. A few of our people retired over the last couple of years, but we will be attracting more and more interest once we get to the advanced development stage for sure. And we have now brought a new investor relations consultant onto the team to help me with all of our investor relations work, Celicia Elias. And that's been one of the things that's been consuming a lot of my time recently. So that's it. And I'm happy to take some questions.
Great job, Don. We got some questions for you. Okay, so Tom Armstrong, Mike Kinsey, and Randy Baird would like to know what stage you're at with the processing facility in Thunder Bay, and when will it close?
Well, as I said, we want to get it up and running by 2025, 26. But step one is to secure the industrial site, and that should get completed in mid-January. Then we can get going on attracting the partners and starting to do the feasibility study work and get the whole ball rolling there. A lot of interest in Thunder Bay and supporting our aspirations on this going forward too, because they need a new industry there to replace the traditional forest products industry.
Great. Mick Magaranu asks, what would be the sufficient amount of money to acquire 10% of the world's advanced permanent magnet market? What, $1.2 billion? Would that be sufficient? And what strategies should be applied?
Well, permanent magnets is a rare earths thing, and our partner on the Nechalacho project now, Vital Metals, are doing a very good job on getting the whole ball rolling there for us, and successfully inspired the Saskatchewan Research Council to establish the rare earth separation facility there and the capacity to make the magnet metals from the light rare earths that are used in the magnet metals. So that is getting started, and that was our whole vision there, was if they helped us get the ball rolling there, we could come in behind them and develop the original resource that we defined there back 10, 12 years ago.
Great. Randy Baird wants you to provide any updates on the contracts with LG and others.
Well, it's been a very slow process, but we did sign that MOU in September, and we're still in dialogue with them now. And as I often say to people that ask that same question, is that when you're dealing with major international companies, it's always a slow process to finalize a formal agreement. So it's moving in the right direction, and we now have other interests as alternatives to partner with us on the development of the lithium battery material supply chain as well. But I think we'll get it done with LG.
And Ryan Steen asks, so you've said that you figure there's a slim to no chance of getting approval at the Kempville site to sort the tailings. So why is it listed as a potential project?
Well, we still believe that we can get the access again, because there's more and more interest in the whole concept of reactivating closed mine sites now. It's just a matter of getting the BHP out of the way, and I think the government can do that now. They just have to push them out of the way.
Okay. James Hagel says, concerning rare earth minerals, have you given up greater interest in that and letting Cheetah take over in that area?
Well, we still have an interest in it. And one other closed mine site that we've been looking at as an opportunity that we hopefully will be able to acquire as well is the one showed on the location map at the start, called Cargill in northeastern Ontario near Kapuskasing. And it's a good example of a carbonatite complex that contains a lot of rare earths. And it was mainly used to produce phosphates for agricultural fertilizer products, but the rock contained a whole lot of rare earth elements in it too. So that's a good example of tailings that represent an opportunity to extract value from the waste as well. And hopefully we'll be able to get access to that before long too, and show how that can be done there, as well as hopefully getting our Nechalacho project going to come in behind Vital Metals.
Got it. Well, Don, we've got tons more questions for you, but we are out of time to get to our next presenter. So please come back in 2023 and give us these updates. We'll send you these questions so you can answer them on your own time. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Okay, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back.